Hey folks, this is Riker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include the latest Diablo 4 news, including the date of the next dev livestream, the disastrous launch of Redfall, how modders are adding ChatGPT to Skyrim, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below. But right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. But before we move on, a quick word from this video's sponsor, Torchlight Infinite. Torchlight Infinite's official launch out of beta is happening on May 9th. The cross-platform ARPG has been in beta since October and will remain free to play on both PC and mobile. With the launch also comes the start of Season 3, Cube of Rapacity, which introduces a new risk versus reward gameplay mechanic. As you play the game, you'll find mystical cubes, which you can loot for a chance to find puzzle pieces. With enough puzzle pieces, you can complete a pattern and earn a reward. And the devs are hosting a competition that I'll be participating in, along with other content creators, the Cube Dash competition, to see who can be the first to complete a puzzle. But here's the beauty of it. You folks get to win prizes. You get to pick one of the creators to back, and depending on how well we do, you then get in-game prizes. And then separately, you can try to collect puzzle pieces yourself, and the top 100 participants who have collected the most puzzle pieces by the end of this competition will win a stake of a $10,000 prize pool. Season 3 also introduces a new Bombardier hero, Escapist Bing, plus an overhaul of crafting, guild mechanics, and more. Torchlight Infinite's a lot of fun to play for ARPG fans. You don't have to spend any money, and now's the perfect time to dive in and give it a try. Inside the game, enter code GORIKER in the gift code exchange to support me in the upcoming competition. I'll do my best to win you folks some prizes. In last season's competition, I actually came in second. Starting off with some Diablo 4 news. We learned that the next Diablo 4 dev update livestream will take place on May 10th at 11 AM PDT. And the topic will be seasons, cosmetics, and how the battle pass will work. No, wait, I got that wrong. It's actually how the completely optional battle pass will work. Wait, hold on, no. They got this wrong. Let me quickly fix that. There we go. I'm hoping we'll get a little more specificity in how long after launch the first season will come. Maybe not an exact date, but a more specific time frame. 1 month, 2. Also, we should set up a bingo card on how many different ways they're gonna have to repeat during the live stream that there will not be pay to win. And as a reminder, folks, the server slam for D4 is next weekend. This is free for everyone to participate in. And there's going to be a new cosmetic reward to unlock. Blizzard even put out a new hype trailer, pulling out some Space Jam music to get us hyped. Come on and slam.
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now.
Then on Twitter, Blizzard released a brief video flashing through a number of different horse cosmetic skins, and Wowhead went ahead and screenshotted each. They range from normal horses to horrific gory horses and ghost horses and evil cult horses, with the most non-horror high fantasy ones being this striped horse or this cow-looking horse. So for those afraid that there will be pink unicorns, they seem to be keeping things grounded and theme appropriate, as they promised. Lastly, for Diablo news, I released my latest lore video. This one covers the story of Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction. Then in Diablo 2 news, Season 4 went live this week, along with patch 2.7. While the past 3 seasons included major features, new rune words, and generally exciting changes, Season 4 feels like the start of maintenance mode for D2R. There are bug fixes, there are quality of life improvements, and there are adjustments to existing features, but nothing really exciting in a sexy way to bring in players for this season. There's one thing that we'll cover though, that is a lot bigger than it seems. But before that, some of the other noteworthy things: everyone is getting 4 extra character slots. Chat lobbies have new systems that should help remove spam bots. After, 2 decades, the technology is finally here. Druids can now shapeshift directly between werewolf and werebear forms rather than have to drop the human form in between. Bulkatho's Sacred Charge two-handed sword is being nerfed by removing its knockback effect. And then, the big one here, the next hit delay system now applies to missiles created by casting the same skill. So let's explain that last one a bit here, since it's the most significant change by far, and it's a system that not all players are even aware of. So in Diablo 2, if a monster is hit by a missile, there's a brief moment of time during which it cannot be hit by another missile. Now what this means is that if you launch a volley of arrows with multi-shot, or a bunch of teeth with teeth, then you're not going to have 2 of those projectiles strike the same monster. Only one of those hits will register. And that's the purpose of the system. It's so that one cast of a spell can't double hit a monster. In practice, though, what this means is that in multiplayer, if 2 players are attacking the same enemy with missile attacks, sometimes some of your attacks will not register. Or if you're hitting certain attack speed breakpoints, then some of your attacks may not be registering. So with the change, next hit delay only applies to the same cast of the same skill. So you will not interfere with your friend's attacks, and your subsequent attacks will not be stopped by your previous attacks. The original intent, though, preventing one cast of a skill from hitting an enemy multiple times in under a second, is still preserved. Now, there are some serious ramifications to this. Some builds are becoming much more powerful now, dealing double, triple, quadruple, even quintuple times their old damage. A tornado druid can now hit an enemy with 3 tornadoes per second instead of just 1. The assassin's blade sentinel can now have 5 sentinels dealing damage to a target every second instead of just 1. In fact, a lot of the assassin's traps have been tremendously buffed by this. Diablo 2 expert Macro BioBoy has a full video giving an in-depth breakdown on how game-changing this all is. Do give that a look if you're planning to play this season, because you may change your mind on what class you'll want to play, on what build you'll want to play, based on what you hear Mac talking about here. Now, moving on to some other news. Redfall released this week. This is the highly anticipated game developed by Arcane Studios and published by Bethesda. And yikes. Maybe it shouldn't have been released this week, or for another few months, because reviews so far have been scathing. The open-world co-op vampire FPS has been criticized for its story, its repetitive campaign, its weak combat, bland missions, and technical issues. And players are pointing out a lot of things that are just, frankly, lazy. Reuse of assets within eyeshot of each other, chimneys that aren't chimneys in a game where you're expected to go on rooftops. On OpenCritic, the game has an average top critic score of 61 out of 100, with only 17% of critics recommending the game. Ouch. On Steam, the game has mostly negative reviews. The situation is so bad that Xbox head Phil Spencer has come out and expressed his disappointment over Redfall. That's pretty significant when the guy who owns the company, that makes your game comes out and says he's disappointed. Specifically what he said was, quote, "I'm disappointed, I'm upset with myself. The critical response was not what we wanted. We're gonna continue to work the game." Now, Arcane Studios has a generally positive reputation, but this is their lowest rated game yet. Arcane has 2 studios, Arcane Lyon in France and Arcane Austin in Texas. The 2 studios historically worked together. They made Dishonored together, but then Dishonored 2 was the first title developed solely by Arcane Lyon, and then Prey was the first title developed solely by Arcane Austin. Arcane Lyon then went on to develop Deathloop, while Arcane Austin made Redfall. And I wish I can chalk this up to one of the studios being good and the other bad, but both studios have been responsible for good games. I really don't know what happened here. I'm kind of bummed out by this one. I try to look for fun co-op games to play with friends, and I guess this just won't be the next one. Back to Valheim, I guess. In other news, as we reported last week, Star Wars Jedi Survivor's PC version has been criticized for its poor performance. The devs have since released a patch that improves the situation, helping players reach better frame rates, but stuttering issues remain. Now, it should be noted that back in March, in an interview with IGN, game director Stig Asmussen was talking about how the team felt confident in its release date. They had picked April 28th. He said, quote, "There was an option of, do we want to extend it a little bit longer? But no. We said no, we can get it done in 6 weeks." Should have made it 7 apparently, since a few extra days was all that was needed for that first PC performance patch. Now, one modder decided to take matters into his own hands. Pure Dark has basically modded DLSS 3 into the game, which would allow 40 series cards to get significantly better performance. It's not a perfect solution right now, but he basically doubled his FPS with just a little bit of effort. So imagine if you had a full team and was working at this for weeks. It's just a shame that the PC versions of games these days are back to being afterthoughts. On to some BlizzCon news. I know some folks have been wondering, what's going on with BlizzCon this year? Is it still happening? Has it been cancelled? Well, Blizzard boss Mike Ibarra tweeted that we can expect to hear about BlizzCon 2023 in about 2 weeks' time, confirming that it is not canceled this year. This will be the first BlizzCon since the release of Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4. Plus, World of Warcraft Dragonflight also launched within the last year and has been a big success for WoW, so this could end up being the biggest BlizzCon yet with regards to celebrating Blizzard games. Then in other news, a Skyrim VR modder has leveraged that fancy GPT that everyone's talking about to create more realistic NPCs. By implementing AI into the game, along with text-to-speech AI, modder Art from the Machine is allowing NPCs to be able to know the time of day, know their current location, tell you about an object that you're holding in your hand, and as it continues to develop this mod, the NPCs should also be able to remember what they have previously spoken to you about. It's still a work in progress and not yet available to the public, but the possibilities here are exciting. With all the advances in AI we've seen over the past few months alone, we're on the cusp of having games in which you can speak into your microphone, say anything you want to an NPC. Your spoken words will then be transcribed and then fed to an AI, interpreted, and then a unique answer will be output using a voice AI. It's going to be like having a dungeon master that can react to literally anything that you say, as opposed to a pre-programmed NPC with specific lines that it's able to repeat, and that's it. And you'll be able to revisit that same NPC and say, hey, remember what I told you yesterday? Can you remind me of what we spoke about? And it'll have continuity. And that's just one aspect of the game that can be handled by AI. Honestly, the next 10 years are going to be wild. We may literally see fully AI dungeon masters by the end of the decade, completely generating unique quests. I say decade, it's probably going to be a lot faster than that. They'll generate unique quests, characters, storylines, everything just on the spot. We're going to have games with literally infinite content, and not just via permutations of randomized elements clumped together on top of other randomized elements, but real content that is AI generated. Like, imagine an RPG with fully AI generated quests, AI generated enemies, AI generated items. The developers basically establish a sandbox framework for you to be able to endlessly encounter new content in this world without them needing to churn things out every week, because there are always players that are going to be consuming content way faster than a human dev can possibly output. Now, of course, it's not going to replace the bespoke experiences carefully crafted by human devs, but you can have your human-crafted campaign and then the AI-generated living world that you can continue to experience forever. I'm telling you, unless we see some massive legislation against it, in 10 years, AI is going to be everywhere and changing our lives in ways we can't even imagine yet. I believe this is going to be the single most significant leap in life-changing technology, more so than even the internet was. You know, when we were kids, teachers used to tell us, you know, you gotta learn this stuff because you're not gonna have a computer with you all the time to just look things up. Yeah, well, aha! And with AI, this is gonna turn into our own personal Jarvis. Instead of saying, hey Google, what's the temperature? You'll say, hey Jarvis, how should I dress tonight? And it's gonna say, Well, Riker, given the temperature outside is a cool 15 degrees Celsius, and because I know from your calendar that you have reservations at the Madison restaurant tonight, I would advise wearing dress pants, a collared shirt, and a blazer, which you can always remove if you're too hot at the restaurant. And remember that on a 2 or 3 button blazer, you should always keep the bottommost button unbuttoned. Then continuing with some more Skyrim news, we got a new gameplay demo for Skywind, a work in progress, total conversion mod that recreates Morrowind inside of Skyrim. And this is from the same folks working on Skyblivion, which is Oblivion remade in Skyrim. In the past, they completed Morroblivion, which was Morrowind remade within Oblivion. These mods are massive undertakings, and in theory, yeah, it's possible that Elder Scrolls 6 may release before these mods are complete, but they're always looking for volunteers of all skill sets and all levels of skill. So if you're looking to help out and join the cause, link in the description on how you can contribute. I've always said that I'm a huge fan of modding. It's one of my favorite aspects of PC gaming, and Skyrim has proven to be one of the greatest playgrounds for modders in gaming history. And finishing up with a quick story that hit survival roguelike shoot-'em-up Vampire Survivors is getting an animated TV series. We don't have any details right now, but game developer Ponkel is working with media company Story Kitchen, which was co-founded by John Wick writer-creator Derek Kolstad. So, sounds promising. And that's gonna wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video in which we discussed new Diablo 4 details that have emerged. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.